So let's,
Mhm,
can we please talk more about addressing the compensation expectation question?
mhm, mhm,
I seem to encounter it a lot. I've also
mhm.
heard that this question can be used to weed out applicants to
Yep,
see if they've done their research
yep.
in, on their average salary. Is it really true you're going to be weeded out if you put in 0 or 1? So we have a couple of questions that are similar to that specifically.
Yeah, so honestly, like they could use all sorts of things to weed you out. Like that's why this question is a lose-lose, right? Like you put in a 0 1, they could weed you out. You put in a number too high, they could weed you out. You put in a number too low, they could weed you out, right? So like just get over the fear and put in what's gonna work best for you. And when it comes to them actually having conversation, your best bet is to actually apply through an internal referral, right? Like, so if you're able to apply to an internal referral, there are several companies out there that have a policy that an actual human being has to get back to you by a certain number of days if someone internally referred you, right? So you have a better chance of quote unquote getting away with putting a 0 1 or delaying this salary conversation to later if you go through an internal referral. So once again, don't just use like one avenue to maximize your negotiations. You got to use a combination, right? Um, and that being said, if you get to the point where there's a pre-screen with the recruiter and they're asking what your salary expectations are, if they're asking you, like, I'm going to remind you that all these questions that a recruiter has that they find important, there's an employee candidate equivalent that you can equally ask back. So if they're asking you for your salary expectation, you rightfully so can ask them, well, what's the pay scale for this? Right? It would really help me out because like you as the employer, you have a lot of the data, you know more of the market data than I do at this point. And like I'm still trying to figure out the role and really all that is a part of the role. So it would really help me out if you actually shared with me what the pay scale for the role is. And once again, that's why those laws that I shared at the beginning of the presentation are going to be more for beneficial to you because if that employer falls under that jurisdiction, they have to give that information to you. Um, okay, so go ahead, Louise.
Thank you so much. No, that's helpful. So just to clarify, it does seem like you're saying, because we talked a little bit about if it's possible to not have to be the first, right? Whether it's in
Mm-hmm.
an application or
Yeah,
a conversation, to actually have that statement. But if it is required through the ATS system, there is some concern. We got another question about this, and you're saying, to your point, if you put 0, if you put 100,000, whatever you put, are you going to be weeded out? That's an impossible question to answer because you don't know, again, if the recruiter will weed you out, whatever you put in there. Um,
yeah,
so, I suppose what you're saying then, Crystal, is it's an individual use case with each person, deciding
mm-hmm.
whether to put the 0 or to put, a number in there that they assume is not a high
Yeah.
ball or a low ball.
Yeah, like that
Yeah.
is our first recommendation. Like if you were to cave, we do recommend caving high rather than caving low.
Okay.
And like if you cave low, it's even more of a lose-lose, right? Like
Yes.
you get lowballed and like um you're lowballing yourself and the employer. If they're willing to hire you, then I would question the integrity of that employer, as well as there is this chance that the employer would then be like, well, what's going on with the confidence of this
Yes.
candidate that they are pricing themselves so far below the market, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So those are all things to consider, and that's why like that I recommend that you do what's best for you, right? Like you do, if you're gonna cave high, our first recommendation is to put in that 0 or that 1, especially if you're going through an internal referral, like
Yes.
because you're pretty much guaranteed to be able to speak to someone on the phone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So internal referral, put that 0. If you don't have that referral and you have to put a number, then cave high. So thank you so much. That's really great. And for those of you on the line who want to do some more work on internal referrals and the job search, please look out for a partnership that we're going to be hosting on the 2-hour job search with Steve Dalton, who specifically does work on the job search and how to get that internal referral.